Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the Monday Night Football Showdown slate on Draftkings for Week 4. We got the Raiders and the Chargers playing on Monday night. As always guys, we're going to go through this player pool. We're going to talk about all the playable options. We're going to go from top to bottom, break down everything, hit on all the playable guys, all the guys that I do have interest in that I expect to see enough playing time to where they, they warrant consideration. So before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, I would appreciate it if you would click that like button down below. If you're new to the channel here, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. A very large majority of you that watch my videos are actually not subscribed. It's around 50%. So if you're part of that 50%, if you're not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. So that way, whenever you log into YouTube, whenever you open up your YouTube app, you will see my videos right there in your subscription feed. You won't have to type up my channel or anything like that. They'll be there right when you log into YouTube. So please do hit that subscribe button, and also comment down below. Let me know how your Week 4 went. For the Sunday main slate, were you able to win any money? Right now, I'm recording this video on Sunday afternoon, so the main slate has not wrapped up yet. We're still waiting on some games to finish. Right now, I'm doing well, specifically on Yahoo, but we'll kind of have to see how things go. We still got a couple hours before the main slate ends, but I do want to always hear you guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. I'm always trying to interact with you guys. I try and reply to every comment, so yeah, comment down below. Let me know how your Week 4 went. Let me know some of your favorite plays for this Monday night showdown slate. But let's go ahead and start off at the top. The two most expensive options on this slate are both quarterbacks. We got Justin Herbert at $11,200. We got Derek Carr coming in at $10,800. Both these guys are going to be in play for me. I say it every video. The quarterbacks are always going to be kind of like staples of these showdown slates. It's really, really unlikely that you don't see neither quarterback be in the winning lineup. A very large majority of the time, at least one of the two quarterbacks is going to be in the winning lineup, if not both the quarterbacks. I think between the two quarterbacks, Justin Herbert is my preferred option. Matchup at home against the Raiders, I definitely like a lot for him. This is a game that we're expecting to see a lot of points scored. Right now, this game has a 51.5 total with just a 3-point spread, so it's projected to be a high-scoring game. It's projected to be a close game as well. Justin Herbert, big game last week against the Chiefs. He was kind of disappointing weeks 1 and 2 against Washington and against Dallas, but he bounced back in a big way last week against Kansas City. Good matchup here at home against the Raiders. The Raiders defense is one I'm not very scared of at all, so I do like Herbert a lot. He's for sure one of the top projected players on this slate. And then Derek Carr is a good option as well. Derek Carr has probably been one of the biggest surprises so far this season. Derek Carr, especially for fantasy, was someone that I rarely played at all last year. He just was really never a guy you wanted to roster in DFS just because he didn't have the upside. But they're letting him go out there and sling the ball this year. I mean, he threw the ball 56 times in Week 1. I know that game went to overtime, but 56 pass attempts Week 1, 37 pass attempts Week 2, 43 pass attempts in Week 3. This Raiders team used to be very, very run heavy. So far this year, they're letting Carr throw the ball a lot, and we've seen him have a lot of success, especially for fantasy. 28 DK points Week 1, 27, 25. He's been super consistent. Another game, right? Like I said, that projects to be high scoring. It projects to be close. Derek Carr's got plenty of upside in this spot as well. I definitely like Derek Carr on this slate. I would give the edge to Herbert over Derek Carr, especially because I prefer Herbert's pass catchers, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I prefer those guys over, like Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller and Henry Ruggs. But Derek Carr is firmly in play for me as well. I think he's a very good option. I do want to go over to PrizePicks, talk about both these quarterbacks. So right now, Derek Carr is coming in with a 21 fantasy point projection on PrizePicks. Justin Herbert coming in with a fantasy point projection of 23.5. I think I like the overs on both the quarterbacks here. Derek Carr gone over this in every single game so far, gone over 21 fantasy points. Again, he had 28 fantasy points Week 1, 27 in Week 2, 25 in Week 3. The only difference from PrizePicks fantasy scoring and Draftkings fantasy scoring is that on Draftkings, you do get 3 points for, whenever your quarterback throws for over 300 yards. But even if you take away the 3-point bonus, the 300-yard bonus, he still goes over 21 fantasy points every game this year. And in a game that, expects to be high scoring, expects to stay close, I think we could definitely see Derek Carr go over 21 fantasy points once again. So I like the over on him on PrizePicks, and then Justin Herbert, 23.5 fantasy points. I like his over as well. I tend to always go over on quarterbacks in these high-scoring games. A game like this that projects to be a shootout. So both quarterbacks I have a good amount of interest in on the showdown slate, and both quarterbacks I like taking their over on fantasy points over on PrizePicks. And again, if you guys want to check out PrizePicks, they're the sponsor of this video. For those of you that have not signed up for PrizePicks yet, be sure to do so. link down below in the description, or just use promo code Noah when you do sign up for PrizePicks. You'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. You can take a look at everything that PrizePicks has to offer for this Monday night game. They have a ton of guys projected on their on their board. They have fantasy point projections. They also have player props. So they have pass yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, receptions. It's very simple. You just pick the over or the under. You can win up to 10 extra money on PrizePicks. So if you guys want to check them out, use promo code Noah when you do sign up for PrizePicks. Obviously, they are the sponsor of this video. But yeah, let's talk about some of these other guys at the top. So we got Mike Williams, more expensive than Keenan Allen, which is kind of surprising. But $10,200 from Mike Williams. He warrants this heavy price tag because he's been great this year. Getting massive volume, 12, 10, 9 targets, getting just all the touchdowns so far. I think this there's some touchdown regression coming from Mike Williams. He's not going to catch a touchdown every single week, but he's clearly been a top-tier receiver this year. He's been one of the biggest surprises this season. He's blowing his ADP out of the water right now. I don't think he's going to continue to put up 20, 30 DK points every single week, but Mike Williams is a good option once again. I do prefer Keenan Allen for cheaper, though. We'll talk about Keenan Allen in a second, but yeah, Mike Williams firmly in play. Can't go wrong with Austin Eckler either. Austin Eckler is the clear, number one running back for the Chargers this year. He should be a workhorse guy. He's going to get a ton of usage in the passing game. We already know that. He should get most of the carries as well. He's been getting a lot of the carries, near the goal line too, which is something we like to see. Eckler in the past, a lot of times would kind of get pulled out of the game whenever they get to the goal line and they just let Justin Jackson run it in. But so far this year, they're giving him a lot of opportunity, near the goal line. He should probably get 10 to 15 carries, probably going to get 6, 8 targets. You're getting a workhorse running back, at a pretty nice price point and a good matchup too against the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders have really ever been that great at stopping the run. So far this season, in terms of rushing yards allowed to running backs there, let's see. They've allowed 233 rushing yards to opposing running backs, which, is about middle of the pack. So they've been okay at stopping the run, but again, Eckler is going to get a ton of volume. That makes him a very solid option. Now, I think I do prefer the pass game in this game, so I think I'm going to prefer Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, those guys over Austin Eckler. But I think Austin Eckler will come in a little bit lower owned than some of the receivers. So as a good way to get different in tournaments, you could definitely play Austin Eckler, especially in the captain spot. And if he somehow gets all the touchdowns, and obviously if that happens, that probably means that Herbert, Williams, Keenan Allen, those guys are not doing very well if Eckler scores all the touchdowns. So that's a good way to get a little bit of leverage, get a little bit different in tournaments. But then you got Darren Waller, 9,200. I think Darren Waller also firmly in play. Now, again, I'm probably going to prefer the Chargers pass catchers, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I think I'm going to prefer those two guys over Darren Waller. But Darren Waller should also, be a target monster. 19 targets week 1, 7 targets back-to-back games. The Chargers have been pretty bad against tight ends so far this season. So far against the tight end position, they've allowed 207 receiving yards, which is top 10. They've allowed 19 receptions to tight ends, which is around top 10 as well. In terms of fantasy points allowed to the position, they're top 10 in fantasy points allowed per game to tight ends. So definitely a winnable matchup, I would say, for Darren Waller. Again, it projects to be a high-scoring game. Waller is a very solid play too. But I think my favorite guy to target, in this kind of upper mid-range is Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen is just underpriced. The fact that he's not priced up there with Jalen, or the fact that he's not priced up there with Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, I figured he would be the third highest priced player on the slate, and he's the 6th highest priced player. So I think we are getting a really nice discount on Keenan Allen. He also continues to be a target monster. Even though the game log, even though we haven't really seen that massive 30, 35 point game from Keenan Allen, we know he's got that kind of upside. We know he's going to have one of these games where he gets 9 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. He had a really good game against Washington in week 1, just no touchdowns. If he scores a touchdown, he finishes with 28 Draftkings points. Week 2, if he scores a touchdown, he finishes with 24 DK points. Last week, he was able to get into the end zone, 12 targets, 8 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen's probably my favorite player to target overall in this slate. I think he's going to be someone I utilize a lot in the captain spot. I think he obviously has enough upside to be a winning captain. He's just an alpha receiver, going to get big-time volume, winnable matchup against the Raiders in a game that projects to be high-scoring. We could see a 7-catch, 125-yard touchdown and a touchdown type of game from Keenan Allen. So at 8,800, he's my favorite player to target overall on this slate. I'm going to be using him a lot in the captain spot for sure. But then looking at some other guys, you got the Raiders running back situation that we definitely need to hit on. So as I said, guys, I am recording this video on Sunday afternoon. We don't really have an update yet on Josh Jacobs. He's currently a game time decision. We'll probably get some update, closer to game time, probably whenever actives come or whenever they release inactives around, like 7 Eastern. Right now, I'm expecting Josh Jacobs to probably sit. He hasn't played since week 1. He got injured in got injured after week 1's game. He hasn't played since then. It seems like he's kind of leaning more towards doubtful than questionable, but we'll just have to keep an eye on this. If Josh Jacobs does not play, Peyton Barber is probably the guy that we were going to want to go to. Kenyon Drake really hasn't been that involved, especially last week. He wasn't too involved. Peyton Barber was actually like the workhorse back last week. Got 23 carries for 111 yards. Also got some pass game usage, 5 targets, 3 catches for 31 yards. Had a big game last week. The Chargers so far this year have been terrible against the run. They've actually allowed the most rushing yards to opposing running backs so far this season. 415 rushing yards allowed to running backs. Let's see. I think they've allowed a lot of fantasy points as well. Like fantasy points to the position. They're like top 5 in terms of fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. So it is a good matchup for Peyton Barber. I think if Josh Jacobs is out, Peyton Barber does become a very solid option in the mid-range. If Josh Jacobs plays, then it just gets a bit, wonky, because then they have Peyton Barber, they have Kenyon Drake. Like, how are they going to utilize all 3 of Jacobs, Barber, and Drake? Are all 3 of them going to, get touches? Are they all 3 going to be involved? Is Jacobs just going to be the guy that they, use? Is he going to be like a workhorse back? We just don't really know. So this is going to be something to monitor. If Jacobs plays and he's, not on any pinch count or anything, I think Jacobs is someone we can target. I'll probably be staying away from the Raiders running backs as a whole if Jacobs plays. But I think Jacobs would at least become viable. He would be my favorite of all the Raiders running backs if he's active. But if he's out, then I do like Peyton Barber a good amount. Kenyon Drake, I guess, is fine as well if Jacobs is out. Like last week, he got 8 carries, also got 6 targets. They're going to utilize him as well, but I think Barber is kind of the number 1 right now. And if Jacobs is out, I think Barber will be the number 1 for this game, so he's just the running back that I would prefer. But I guess if you want to get different, Drake will probably be pretty low owned. He's viable at least at 5,400. But then you got some of these Raiders receivers. So you got Henry Ruggs at 6,400. You got Hunter Renfrow at 5,800. Bryan Edwards at 5K. I think all 3 of these guys are viable. I think Henry Ruggs probably gives you the most upside. I think he's kind of he's the big play guy. He's the guy that can, break off a long touchdown catch. It's or whatever's his price. What's his price? 6,800 or 6,400. So 6,400, fine as a mid-range option. I don't know if I'm going to be utilizing him a ton on this slate, but I think he's got upside for sure. The targets have been a little bit higher this year than they were last season. Last season, Henry Ruggs didn't get a ton of volume, but so far this year, 19 targets through 3 games. Obviously, with the Raiders throwing the ball a lot more, we're seeing more opportunity for Henry Ruggs, more opportunity for Hunter Renfrow as well. I think Hunter Renfrow is probably my favorite of the 3 receivers. I guess it would be close between him and Henry Ruggs. I think Ruggs maybe gives you a little bit more upside. I think Renfrow probably gives you a higher floor. He's just kind of, he runs a lot of low A-dot routes. He doesn't run a ton of routes deep down the field. He runs like a lot of quick slants. He's going to be a guy that gets 5-6 receptions a lot of weeks. So far this year, 6 receptions week 1, 5 week 2, 5 in week 3. I think you're going to see probably 6 to 8 targets for all 3 of, or at least for Ruggs and Renfrow. I think you'll see about 6 to 8 targets for both Ruggs and Renfrow. I think Renfro's a little bit safer. I think Ruggs maybe gives you a little bit more upside, but both of those guys are viable. And then Bryan Edwards, too, at 5K, someone we can look to. His target volume hasn't been as high as Ruggs and Renfrow has, but he's still, playing a large majority of the snaps. Last week, Bryan Edwards played 76% of the snaps, 74% the week before that. I think it's Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards that they utilize on the outside, and then they'll let Hunter Renfrow play mainly out of the slot. If you want to go to Bryan Edwards at 5K, especially if you're looking for a little bit of a cheaper value, I think he's someone that is definitely playable on this Showdown slate. Value is kind of tough to find today. The value on this slate's not great. So a guy like Bryan Edwards at 5K, Hunter Renfrow at 5,800, I think these are cheaper options that we can look to. Then you got Jared Cook at 4,400. Jared Cook, I think, is playable on this slate. He did actually play a large majority of the snaps last week. He got up to 70% of the snaps last week. He was only targeted 3 times, but if you want to factor in, it's a little bit of a revenge game for him against the Raiders. He used to play for the Raiders. Pretty sure last year he played for them, or the year before that. But again, he's playing 65, 70% of the snaps. Probably going to get like 5 to 6 targets at 6,600, or what is he, 4,400 in the flex, 6,600 at captain. I think Jared Cook, fine option. I would probably prefer like Renfrow and Edwards and Ruggs over Jared Cook, but I think at 4,400, Jared Cook is playable for sure. The kickers, I think, do look like pretty good values on this slate because just value's not great. There's not a ton of great punt options that I'm really looking to. So the kickers, usually good to give you 8 to 10 points. I think playing one of the 2 kickers for value is totally fine. Now when we get to like punt options, I think Jalen Guyton's probably going to be the popular cheap value that everyone goes to. He's really the only guy down here, though, that I really have any confidence in. He's actually been playing a large majority of the snaps so far this year. He played 65% in week 1, 70% of the snaps week 2, and then 62% last week. Doesn't really get targeted a ton, but he is someone that does have big play upside. You know, he's a guy that can always break off a long touchdown catch for, what, 2,400? I mean, yeah, if you're looking for a cheap punt option, Jalen Guyton below 3K is probably my favorite value. Zay Jones, just not targeted enough. He's only seen 3 targets so far through 3 games. I don't think I'm going to play Zay Jones on this slate. Like Foster Moreau, I don't think I'm going to go there. I mean, he's basically like touchdown or bust. I'm probably not going to play him. Donald Parham just doesn't get utilized enough. It seems like Jared Cook is the clear number 1 tight end for the Chargers, so tough to really have any interest in Parham. I would say, for me, the cheapest viable option that I have interest in is Jalen Guyton at 2,400. Once you get past Jalen Guyton, there's just really no one else I think I'm going to play. I don't think anyone else is going to be in my player pool. So that really does it for this Showdown slate, guys. We talked about, all the guys I have interest in, all the playable options. Real quickly, we will hit on roster construction before we end the video, kind of talk through how I'm looking to build out my lineups, how you should be correlating your lineups and all that. So we talked about it earlier. I think Keenan Allen might be my favorite captain play on this slate. I just think he's underpriced. Keenan Allen should not be 13,200 at captain and Mike Williams 15,300. If anything, in my opinion, those 2 price tags should be flipped. Keenan Allen should be the more expensive than Williams. I know Williams has been balling this year, but Keenan Allen is still the wide receiver 1 for the Chargers at 13,200. I like him a lot as a captain play. If we're playing Keenan Allen at captain, we want to correlate our lineups correctly. We want to stack him with Justin Herbert because if we're assuming that Keenan Allen has a big game and is the winning captain, that obviously means that Justin Herbert is throwing all those throwing all those balls to Keenan Allen. He's getting touchdowns. Those guys correlate correctly. So if we're playing any receiver, really any receiver you play at captain, you want to stack them with their quarterback. But we plug in Keenan Allen at captain with Justin Herbert. We got 6,400 left per player for like 4 spots. So yeah, this is where it gets really tough, man. Like the value on this slate's not great. We could plug in a guy like Jalen Guyton as a punt option for 2,400. So that way we could maybe fit in another stud at the top. So if we want to play like Derek Carr, if we want to play both quarterbacks in this lineup, we're probably going to have to play someone like Jalen Guyton, but I'm fine doing that if it lets us get both quarterbacks. And I think, playing both quarterbacks on this slate is a strategy I'm probably going to utilize a lot. But then you got like 6,200 left per player for your last 2 spots. So a lot of ways you could go here. You could play like Hunter Renfrow and, Henry Ruggs if you wanted to do that. You could play like Bryan Edwards and Peyton Barber if Josh Jacobs is out. I would obviously have interest in Peyton Barber, so that's another build, another way you could finalize this build. Or you could get really, a little bit different, maybe play like a kicker and then play, like a Peyton Barber and leave some salary on the table and just hope that like one of the kickers outscores, like a Hunter Renfrow, because most people, if they do this lineup right here, they're probably just going to plug in either Drake or Edwards, probably Edwards. So if you just leave some salary on the table, play the kicker, then you just got to hope that the kicker outscores, these guys priced above them, which is totally possible, which could obviously happen. But that's probably like the way I'd be starting my builds. Again, if you want to play both quarterbacks on the slate, which I'm trying to do, you're going to have to look to some cheap guys. So Jalen Guyton, I like for value. One of the 2 kickers I think is fine for value. And then like Hunter Renfrow, Bryan Edwards, Henry Ruggs, Peyton Barber, if Jacobs is out. These are guys I'm looking to kind of in the mid-range to kind of fill out the rest of my lineups. But yeah, I think that's just kind of a little quick breakdown of this Showdown slate, guys. Hopefully, I was able to help you guys a little bit in this video. Obviously, I don't have all the answers. I'm just here to give my thoughts on these slates, kind of talk about roster construction, how I'm looking to approach it. And then, in the live stream Monday night, we'll kind of talk more about the slate, talk about, ownership. We'll have ownership projections. I'll be able to talk about those kind of, if there's guys that I think, are coming in low owned that we could target, we can all, always touch on that in the live stream. I can always answer all your questions in the live stream Monday night, but I appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope you did enjoy. Before we do get out of here, hit the like button, guys, hit the subscribe button, and also check out PrizePicks if you have not yet. PrizePicks, the sponsor of this video. We gave out a couple picks I like on PrizePicks for this game. I like going over on both quarterbacks here, in a high total game that projects to be high scoring. I tend to side with, going over on the quarterbacks in those type of games. So over on Derek Carr fantasy points, over on Justin Herbert fantasy points. Those are 2 picks I do like on PrizePicks for this game. And if you want to check out their entire board, you can look at all that they have to offer. You can make some picks for yourself. Just be sure when you sign up for PrizePicks, use promo code NOAH, so that way you do get your first deposit matched up to $100. If you deposit $100, they will match that, and they will give you an additional $100 to play with. But best of luck on the slate, guys. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you did enjoy. We'll see you Monday night in the live stream. I'll be live a couple hours before kickoff, talking through the slate with you guys, answering all your questions, breaking down everything once again. But good luck, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.